wise and young age of 81. He finally received his ultimate uncle hug, a special hug Bob had for the children. Grandpa was born on April 2nd, 1937 in Centrilla, Washington, to Ray and Vera Howard, and was a devoted big brother to his sisters Mary and Marlene. Grandpa's lifelong love of flying began with wanting to be like his dad. The stories that Grandpa heard of his dad's childhood barnstorming days, pioneering piloting for Ketchikan Airways in Alaska and training for the pilots for World War II filled him with awe and captivated his heart. His first attempt at flight was with one of his dad's parachutes and jumping out of a third-floor window from his childhood home in Des Moines, Washington, where he broke his arm.
But luckily survived. Grandpa loved to tell the tale of how much he enjoyed his difficult ability to make salt. In his high school chemistry class, during his senior year, he had to take this on. While in he was very resourceful and clever, so he asked a very pretty young girl, Marjorie Fisher, to help him. We don't think that this was accidental at all, nor do we think that he didn't know how to make salt. We knew what he was after.
Amen.
He was smitten with his beautiful and smart lab partner, and he always called her my Margie. They were seniors in high school, and later that fall, they were married September 13th, 1955. The same year, Grandpa joined the U.S. Air Force and was stationed in Biloxi, Mississippi, where he learned the trade of radio operating. While in Biloxi, Grandma and Grandpa became a family of 3, with the addition of their first daughter, Sherry. Grandpa was soon relocated to Larson Air Force Base in Moses Lake, Washington, where their family grew to 4 with their daughter, Kathy. His 4 years of flying missions over Alaska ignited his love for Alaska and a determination that one day he and his Margie would settle in the Great Land. It's not on here, but just a little caveat. I asked Grandpa one time, why are we in Alaska? And he said, well, it was either Alaska or Hawaii. And I picked Alaska. I was very confused. We lucked out. Yeah. Throughout his life, small signs continued to point him to Alaska.
I don't technically come next, but we changed for nostalgic purposes. The stories are important to us. I'll do this so that you're not confused. After his service, Grandpa enrolled as a history major at Pacific Lutheran University, Washington, with a minor in German. Later in his adult life, Grandpa would be on the board of regents for PLU. While working on his degree, he also worked as a window salesman, continued part-time in the Air Force. Grandpa loved the outdoors, and whenever possible, he would steal moments to go hunting and hiking. He was a great skier and competed in giant slalom while in college. One of the greatest testaments to Grandpa's flexibility, curiosity, and determination came in the final semester of his senior year when IBM representatives visited the PLU campus. Holding up a large box to Grandpa's class, the representative said, "This is a computer." This is easily one of my favorite stories of Grandpa's. Who would like to take it home this weekend and figure out how it works? Grandpa's hand immediately shot up. By Monday, he was infatuated and had decided to change his major to mathematics. A few short months later, he held in his hands a degree in mathematics, a minor in German, and a world of opportunities before him.
Grandpa was promptly hired by IBM as a computer programmer and relocated relocated his growing family to the quaint town of Wappingers Falls, New York, where they lived on Gilmore Boulevard South. On their cross-country move, Grandpa taught his young daughters how to swim, while Grandma, pregnant with their third daughter, Julie, was their greatest cheerleader. Now completely surrounded by his favorite ladies, Grandma with Grandpa instilled, know where you come from, know where you are, and know where you're going in their girls, while exploring and absorbing the rich history of America along the East Coast. As a patient and willing victim, his girls learned how to paint fingernails, comb, curl, and tease hair, and shave beards. Always together, they spent 6 years in New York, sailing their sunfish on the Hudson River, camping anywhere their imagination could go, playing in piles of huge oak tree leaves, hiking in the woods, teaching the girls to ski. Building snowmen and having many adventures. Grandpa loved space and all it represented. God's beautiful creation, infinity, dots connecting the universe, possibilities overriding fear. His excitement in the space program became a lifetime legacy with his daughters and his grandchildren. Their last year in New York was in Salt Point, where they lived on Grissom Place, named for astronaut Gus Grissom.
Ultimately, New York weather proved to be unhealthy for his girls and their doctors, with their doctor's urgent request, IBM transferred Bob, Marge, and the girls to Boulder, Colorado, where they lived on McKinley Drive, in what Kathy described as the best home ever. Bob and Marge soon replaced their little Corvair with a red and white Volkswagen bus as the family car.
Hello.
Yeah. That faithful little bus traveled all over the United States, taking the family on ski trips, exploring nooks and crannies of Colorado, and being filled to the brim with peat moss, or peat dirt, from up high in the Rocky Mountains to bring back to the garden. We don't need trailers, we'll just fill the van. That's right. Sure. Unload it when we get back. Small but vital steps in his life brought Bob to the moment his lifelong desire was to come true. An offer from IBM to move to Alaska and start the IBM presence in Fairbanks was met with an enthusiastic yes. That wasn't very enthusiastic. Yes! By the entire family. Arriving in Alaska, where he always belonged, he never looked back.
Grandpa and Grandma built their home on Dome Road just outside of Fairbanks. The Sunfish was traded for a canoe and a raft. And once again, their VW bus was packed to the gills for camping and fishing adventures. Grandpa's favorite places included Tangled Lakes, Circle, Chetnika River, and McKinley Park. Soon after landing at Fairbanks, Grandpa and Grandma immediately became involved in the Fairbanks Light Opera Theater, where Grandpa was soon a familiar face, holding leading roles or directing productions. Grandpa was absolutely in his element, acting on the stage, singing. He was a natural comedian. I think we all know that. With a famous sense of humor, Grandpa was also finally able to realize his dream of flying. He and Grandma both became private pilots and flew countless hours over Alaska in the lower 48s with their Cessna 172, 2-niner 1-4 Delta. His intense passion for flight and space continues in his children and grandchildren today.
So Grandpa knew how to be present, to be fully engaged with whoever he was talking with. And decades ago, this attribute gave his family a lifetime of giggles. While he was in a focused conversation with a fellow traveler at the Alaska Airlines check-in counter, he forgot that he'd left his car running at the curb. It was well below 0 degrees outside, and only after landing in Anchorage did he remember his car. In the meantime, Alaska Airlines had contacted Grandma to have it moved. The newspaper caught wind of it, ran an article about it, and the whole town enjoyed a little bit of laughter at it. So to celebrate his return home from that trip, my family set up a scavenger hunt all around their house that is to this day known as, "Do you know where your car is?" Yep. It was the original, "Dude, where's my car?" Grandpa poured himself into this community in many, many ways. He was a founding member of Christ Lutheran Church, where he was instrumental in the purchase of land off Farmers Loop Road and also the construction of that church. He was heavily involved in Rotary Club and many programs undertaken by the community. In 1979, Grandma and Grandpa hosted a foreign exchange student from Australia, Janet Mitchell. Julie, Kathy, and Mom Sherry were thrilled to have another sister in the house, as Grandma and Grandpa were joyful to have their fourth daughter. The friendships and love born that year continue between our families today.
Grandpa was always a champion for the arts. You could find him either in the audience or an active and enthusiastic participant of the arts, pretty much anywhere in Fairbanks. Whether on a board of directors, as a guest director for the Northland Chamber Choir, beating to his own drum in Fairbanks Summer Art Festival's steel drum class, painting from the right side of his brain along with Bob Ross, performing alongside his granddaughters in their local dance productions, or simply behind the scenes as mentor, driver, or #1 fan. Grandpa loved the enrichment all the arts brought to him, his family, and his community. In his golden years, he was able to share his love of literature when he teamed with Greg Hill and Boys Read in Fairbanks. For many years, he, Greg, and other men read Captain Underpants to boys in elementary schools around Fairbanks. Grandpa's love of golf and his friendship with Roger Evans found Grandpa working tirelessly to develop and establish the par grading for statewide golf courses.
My grandpa was proud of his shining star with IBM, securing the contract with the University of Alaska Fairbanks for their supercomputer. The supercomputer is working flawlessly to this date. Grandpa retired from IBM after 25 years and began a new career as a New York Life insurance agent. This gave my grandpa years of enjoyment, helping people prepare for their future. Eventually retiring from New York Life, he joined forces with Ron Tellefson and worked with Enrichment Ministries for many years, helping churches on the West Coast with financial campaigns. This work, combined with his local community devotion and personal value of being a solution to a problem, enabled Grandpa and Ron to develop the financial campaign for Ravens Landing. This was his final contribution to his beloved Fairbanks. My grandfather was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2009. He tackled Parkinson's like he tackled life, with knowledge, vigor, devotion, patience, and perseverance. Grandpa elected to have electrodes implanted in his brain to combat tremors. Although he was the oldest patient that Mayo Clinic had even considered to have this type of surgery, his medical team was enthusiastic about his decision because of his attitude and overall health. Unfortunately, a stroke during one of the 2 surgeries brought complications, and he lost the ability to speak. He could occasionally muster enough volume to be heard, but most of the time, he spoke in quiet whispers or used his iPad or iPhone for communicating. However, his twinkle and wit remained until his final days.
My great-grandpa served his Lord and King and maintained his faith throughout his life. He was a loving and compassionate servant to all. Great-grandpa loved and cherished my great-grandma deeply. He shared wisdom, jokes, and laughter with all 3 of his daughters, 11 grandkids, and 29 great-grandkids at every opportunity. We loved him deeply, miss him madly, and look forward to continuing the footsteps and pathways he made here on his earthly home. He believed our lives are lived not to be remembered, but to point to our God. We can hardly wait for his open arms, welcoming us as we join him in our forever home in heaven.
I'm going off script, so bear with me. It occurred to me as I was listening to these wonderful people describe a wonderful, loving husband, father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. And most of you don't know some of those kids, so I thought, well, I'll introduce them. Tanya Murdy's on the far left, Christy Carpenter. My mind is going, my brain is going, not my mind. Josiah Gettinger.
Oh, Josiah Gettinger.
Yep. All right, go ahead. You're doing fine. Jessica.
Greg Murdy,
His-
Susie, Janet Mitchell.
And he is just always a laugh. A day. Yep. Okay, Melissa. Kelsey, with a brand new great-grandchild. Susan Way, John Way. Hunter Schultz. I beg your. Oh, and then Eric, of course. You know Eric. So I just wanted to try and figure out who was up there.
You can do whatever you want, so. Yeah, you can leave.